And um, Krishna Prabhu is one of the most senior counselors and devotees in ISKCON Juhu Temple, and he and his family have immensely contributed to the growth and stability of ISKCON Juhu. We are very honored and happy to have him with us, and we would love to hear from his valuable experience and inspiration. Thank you very much, Krishna Prabhu, for joining us. Hare Krishna.
It is my honor, Śrīla Prabhu. Thank you. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So when Śrīla Prabhupāda went to the USA for the first time, almost 60 years ago now, and when he introduced the meaning of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, he made it very simple, very beautifully explained that this is the transcendental sound vibration of the Lord. You can imagine nobody had even understood what, have heard the word transcendental or sound vibration. Then he explained very simply that actually there is no difference. This is between the Lord and the holy name. So he said that when you say incarnation, incarnation means the avatar. Sanskrit word is avatar. And avatar means that which descends from the transcendental sky, the spiritual sky, to the material world. Now, why would Krishna do that? Then Prabhupada would explain that because, very simply, that we do not have the eyes to see Krishna. We have material vision. And therefore, Krishna very kindly presents himself. So, in the holy name directly, it's not a representation, he is actually present. So, this simplicity is the eternality of this, of Prabhupada's movement. That whatever we heard 60 years ago, we are hearing now, and we will see as we go along, the truth gets established even more and more. So, our whole life, Prabhupada would say, is that simply the most important sentence he said is that always try to remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So, this sums up everything that we will do. So, why we chant also, why we try to purify ourselves, remove our anathas, why we do our devotional service, we combine our various occupations into service, is entirely to bring ultimately the end of life, even accepting surrender with the Guru. Guru assists us and takes us back to Krishna, is really to try to remember. So, in that, a key thing for us would be to be mindful. Now, mindful, for a pure devotee, is always mindful and aware of Krishna's presence in everything and everyone. So, chanting helps us to be concentrating on the syllable, at least for that 2 hours. We're struggling to try to bring our mind to the every word, every syllable. This we would hope that would also move into our day-to-day life, into all other activities. And that's the whole purpose, that we use our intelligence to be mindful and aware of how we can link up Krishna's presence into everything we do. Just like, for instance, we take the prasadam prayers, we offer it before we take prasad. Now it can be mechanical because we know it and we say Mahaprasade Govind, then we start the process. But as much as we try, and we can try and link it and say that Krishna has already tasted his this prasad, he's made it, he's purified it, and by his eternal mercy and gratitude, he's given grace, he's giving it to me. So somehow, if we are to linking it to whatever process we are doing, same way in the chanting also, if we can put the right mood, that when we are chanting the holy name, we are trying our best, but we may again still miss the wood for the trees, as they say. So the crucial aspect is, why are we doing it? We are actually struggling to not only remember Krishna, but also we are in the meaning of the Mahamantra. We are asking that, please, Krishna, engage me in your service. Oh, Radharani, please engage me in your service. So if we try to remember what we do, why we do, smallest activity, then it will also help us, because then it removes fear also. The holy name removes the fear. So I have seen it in my cases. Oftentimes, the anxiety comes of something, maybe occupation related, or it may be some you're meeting somebody whom you're not comfortable with, whatever. And then if you remember, I said that this is a service to my guru, because guru is taking me to Krishna, and I'm grateful to it. It's the few times when I remember that, automatically then everything falls into place. We try to sometimes push away things which we don't like to do. Again, if we just link it and say it's a service. So similarly, chanting is the most important aspect, but that helps us to regulate this continuity, our mindset. So this mindfulness of why we're doing what we're doing starts with chanting, but should extend to every aspect of our life wherever possible. And even if a few times a day also, if we are remembering, automatically we see the difference. Like Prabhupada would say that we should respect the holy name because just like he gave a simple example that some important person comes, how do we offer respect? Here Krishna is actually descending, so we should respect. So that ignorance is also removed when he said that by chanting the holy name. So remembering this, we start thinking that yes, we take it more seriously, and it becomes joyful and blissful because the absence of fear makes it pleasurable, any aspect. So most of the time, human being, living entity is very much in fear is the most prominent, the anxiety that we have. A variety of things, maybe small or big. To be sometimes we're anxious to be on time, sometimes maybe overdone, or we're anxious to do something well, to perform well in exams. So the anxiety is there, but if we don't link to it Krishna, then that can consume us, because that becomes most important, and that could be a part of our ego. So linking it to Krishna puts the whole perspective, and then makes life completely acceptable, and not only acceptable but pleasurable. And Krishna protects his devotee, which is so prominent. That is the most reassuring thing. That he says that anyone who takes remembers me, I'm purchased by him. And Prabhupada would say that, give a simple example, that if a person is just a friend also, is grateful to someone who will do some service to him. Somebody remembers me, somebody calls me, somebody does something, I'm so grateful. So then imagine how much Krishna would be obliged to someone who's trying his best to, or her best to surrender, to give his or her life to Krishna. Never mind how weak we may be feeling, how vulnerable we are, how many times we slip up, but Krishna just sees that struggle. So you can imagine how much he's obliged, and he actually he reciprocates. And if you are mindful, if you are aware, if you are seeing examples around us, people, so many of our own congregation devotees in our lifetime, and when they're passing away, or we hear about Prabhupada disciples. And I would like to end by giving two specific stories of Prabhupada disciples who demonstrate this. Atma Tattva Prabhu, His Grace Atma Tattva Prabhupada disciple, mentions this story, that in Delhi, when Prabhupada was giving initiations. So Atma Tattva Prabhu once he saw an old man in the temple in Delhi, and that time the practice was that whoever wants to take initiations has to also show some service. So they would sweep the floors, do some service also. But this man was very old and he was sitting there. So he couldn't do any service. He had a big serious problem with the leg, a lot of fluidity and all. So, and he wanted to meet Prabhupada. So once in the afternoon time, and sometimes Prabhupada would just open his door and say, whoever's there, they can come in. So he, one day he opened the door and told. So Atma Tattva Prabhu just popped his head in the temple hall, small temple hall. And this man was the only one sitting. He said, come, Prabhupada would like to see you. So he came in and he was trembling, in front of Prabhupada. Literally, his hands were shaking. And he had this japamala in his hand. And he couldn't say anything because he was so overawed in the presence of Prabhupada. So you just say, Prabhupada would smile at him and says, yes. Then he said, Prabhupada, just kept on saying, Prabhupada. So then he said, Prabhupada said, oh, you you want to chant? So Prabhupada took the beads from his hand and then he showed him, he says, this is how you do it. And every mantra he spoke on every bead. And he actually completed 108 rounds. So that way he actually initiated him and he gave him back the beads. This old man was just holding his beads like this, trembling and was so much overwhelmed. He went back to his village. Then Krishna Prabhu went to meet him just outside Delhi some weeks ago or later. And he was chanting 24 hours, is not well, very sick. And his family said that he does nothing but only chant. Another few weeks later, when Atmatabha Prabhu went there, this man had already left the world. And his family said that, he couldn't, he just wouldn't leave his beads. And then when he left his body also, his beads were so tightly held in his hand that rigor mortis had set it. They couldn't even get the beads out of his hand, when after he passed away. So we could see that, such a glorious departure. And that to just a month or two before he departed, he met, he surrendered, and Prabhupada actually gave him initiation in a way, in spirit, by actually taking and chanted the whole round and showed it to him. Yet for 10 minutes he was with him. So we can see that in most unexpected ways this can happen. And also Ragini Mataji, she was a Prabhupada disciple in France. And she had a very difficult story to say, because this Radhanath Maharaj related it in Nasik once, that her mother, Ragini Mataji's mother, was the French were captured by the Nazis in the Second World War. So her mother had seen when she was only 14 or 15 years old, she's seen three of her brothers and sisters plus her parents being executed in front of her eyes. And she herself, the mother, had, because probably she was a little more healthy, so they forced her to do labor. After 2 years, when the war was over and she was released, she was in depression. Somehow she got married, and then Ragini Mataji was born. But Ragini Mataji's childhood also very much, my mother was constantly depressed, and even her childhood was affected by that. So when she was 17, 18, and suddenly she saw the devotees chanting on the streets, and she just was so happy. It just something clicked with her. And then from that time till the time Prabhupada passed away, it was a glorious, period for her, chanting and everything with them. And she did many services, deity worship, book distribution. It was fully engaged in it because it was a very blissful thing compared to what she was going through. She got married. But after Prabhupada departed, then her husband left some years later. He just left them and went. She had 2 children. And then she had to concentrate on her children. So she also drifted away from ISKCON for the 80s. And for 29 years, she never saw a devotee. For 29 years, she never met anyone, and she never chanted. She completely moved her. She was only concentrating on, bringing up her children and, fending for them, getting an occupation and so on. And then in the 2012-13 period, Her Grace Mandakini Mataji, a wonderful devotee of Prabhupada, she comes often, we meet her in yatras also. So she met her and Krishna's arrangement, and then she gave her, she connected, so she gave her beads, and then she gave her Radhanath Swami's tapes, and somehow then, and within a few months, she developed a terminal illness, and then she wrote this letter to Radhanath Swami, giving this whole life of hers, and saying that how much it is, how much she's grateful. So when Maharaj went to meet her there, just a few weeks before she passed away, she was telling him that I would not exchange this for anything else. I'm so happy. I'm so peaceful. So we can't imagine how a person in physical pain, completely left alone, and she was experiencing the gratitude that Prabhupada reciprocated at the last moments, just because she had surrendered for a crucial part of her life. So this gives us faith for us all that, if we stick to the process, Krishna is there for us. Krishna will be, and we don't have to have fear. If we just respect Krishna, respect his devotees, do our best to serve. Whatever the circumstances we have to face, we will face, but it is for our purification. So, I'd like to end here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji, in such simple words but really deep. Um, understanding of Krishna consciousness, and especially the two stories that you shared were, extremely inspiring. Thank you very much for joining in, Prabhu, and would like to request you to please keep coming whenever you have time and opportunity. Very grateful for your association, Prabhuji.
I will, on the condition that you don't have to have a special introduction on that. I mean, everyone just comes and speaks and goes. It should be, you don't have to. I'm so grateful to you, and you inspire me also. So, thank you.
Great, Prabhuji. Very well. Thank you. Thank you.